Coulter is the best-selling author in Trump We Trust. Great Donald Trump book, In Trump We Trust. And get her book, Adios America, if you're really worried about that wall and the border. And get her columns, of course. Follow Ann Coulter on Twitter and Facebook. And go to AnnCoulter.com. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Mark Simone?
Very good. Do you watch those Sunday shows?
No.
Oh.
Very few people watch them, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
Not that I usually go with the crowd, but sometimes I have them on in the background when I'm making breakfast. But they've gotten really boring.
Well, yesterday it was all Stormy Daniels. No North Korea, no Iran deal.
I'll take Stormy over North Korea. See, the way you react to Stormy, I react to North Korea. Not our problem.
Oh, okay.
Just get back to the borders of the United States, and it could have been all Kanye West. It could have been all Kardashians. At least it has something to do with the place where I live.
Okay. So, but then I read all this Rudy Giuliani. It was the worst week ever. I mean, he was a little wobbly.
Oh, he was great. Yeah. I was dying to talk to you about that because I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this on air, the whole agreement and Michael Cohen and the raid business. I mean, we understood. I think most people understood from the outset what was going on here. I love Trump for his promises and his uncanny ability to understand what the popular issues are. But I've always thought, you know, growing up in Connecticut, he's not what you call a classy person. And one of the examples of that always was going around boasting about how rich he was. Now, putting aside the tackiness of it, good way to attract grifters and gold diggers, and also he hangs around with a lot of sleazy people. I mean, he's been to the Playboy Mansion. He's had these people at the openings of his golf courses. So I imagine it was quite a regular problem having people bring frivolous lawsuits against him, trying to shake him down. You're going to hang around with sleazy people and constantly tell them you're a billionaire. So I am sure that among Michael Cohen's jobs for Trump, in addition to presenting him with business deals, was, look, just deal with any of these grifters coming with the lawsuits. They want to be paid off, paid them off, just add it to the bill. And yes, he knew that was happening, but he didn't know the details. This business about, you know, either this being some form of lying, obstruction of justice, campaign finance violation. No, it's none of that. I'm sure he told Michael Cohen what I used to tell my bodyguard: don't give me the details. I'm just going to walk onto the stage being perfectly calm and confident. You deal with the violent psychos and don't tell me about it. I'll pay you when it's over. And I'm sure that's what Trump is doing. He was the relevance of it being whatever it was, 12 days before the election. Yeah, I think Michael Cohen didn't have to check with Trump.
You know, Giuliani.
Hey, do you think I should pay this grifter off?
Well, Rudy Giuliani made
isn't even true.
Rudy Giuliani made a great point. If you had to negotiate a settlement, that's $1 million, $2 million, $130,000. That's just like out of the petty cash drawer. Just here, go away. Right. No, of course that was what was going on. The reason it came, the relevance, the idea that this is a campaign finance violation because you were doing it because of the campaign. No, I suspect it. I don't think they're probably not all porn stars, but probably a lot of the businesses he allegedly didn't pay. Look, he may have, may not have. I have no knowledge of it. But the point is, Cohen's job was to respond to all of these things. He's on a retainer. He's being paid every month. And as I said on my Twitter feed, this is how campaign finance law swallows the universe. You can't say that every expense that makes, well, that's going to help your campaign. It's going to help your campaign if you eat, because it would be bad if you starve to death. That doesn't mean when you buy food or a monthly payment to your gardener or the maid coming. Because, man, if Mar-a-Lago were a mess and it were overgrown, that would be terrible for his campaign. Yeah, that's a good point.
These are just regular payments you make, and if you would have made them in the course of business, it isn't a campaign finance expense. That is a constitutional problem with these very broad campaign finance laws, which is why we should probably get rid of them.
Hey, Robert Mueller got really slapped around by a federal judge on Friday who said this Manafort thing is ridiculous. You're all over the map. You're way outside of your mandate. And it looks like he could even throw that Manafort stuff out of court.
I'm worried about that because, I mean, while all of us share the judge's frustration, and God bless him for saying it, this is the problem. As I just described the problems with the campaign finance laws. Here's the problem with the independent counsel law. Mueller's commission is very, very broad. It's basically the entire world. So, yes, although everything the judge said was absolutely right, this is 100% a fishing expedition. It's terrifying that in America you can have a prosecutor with a limitless checkbook to just look at you and anyone associated with you, looking for any little offense you ever may have committed, going back 10 years. It's possible he throws it out because it was such a long time ago, and it is so clearly outside the main point of the investigation, which was any involvement of the Trump campaign with Russia. That's the main point here. But then the next clauses go on to say, or any crimes you come across in the course of your investigation. That's what the problem is. So I mean, I hope he does. I'd like to get a court to rule on this because it's terrifying that this can happen in America. But it's Trump, so they'll do anything.
Yeah, you're right. It should eventually go to maybe even the Supreme Court where they can rule. Can you just assign a special counsel to look at somebody's entire life and try to find a crime? And anybody they know and go through their entire life looking for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when... I mean, you can imagine one crime connected to another. You're looking at one crime, that happens all the time. But this really is so far out of the jurisdiction. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But ultimately, the problem is not. Well, it kind of is with Mueller and the people he's hired. Certainly, doesn't look like a fair investigation.
No.
But really, the problem is with the independent counsel law and with Rod Rosenstein. I mean, that is the one. I'm not as down on the Attorney General Sessions as
you're not
as the president is. But the one mistake, major mistake, and by the way, it's the exact same mistake that the president has made, and that is the people he has hired. If you're going to clear out the swamp, doesn't help if you move to Washington and hire the swamp. And there were plenty of people, both of them could have hired for the White House and the Department of Justice. And the one mistake Sessions made, and I knew it immediately, was hiring that Rod Rosenstein.
You know, it's interesting. Rudy Giuliani was offered Attorney General and turned it down because he'd already.
Why?
Well, he'd already been in the Justice Department for years. He was the number 2 to the Attorney General.
Are you sure?
Yeah. And, I can understand you don't want to go back to your old job or your old company. But he said the other day on TV, it was interesting, he said, that'll be my biggest regret that I didn't take the job because I could have prevented all this.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyone could have. Giuliani from New York, not part of the swamp. See, that's my point. But no, Trump hires Mark Short and the Schlapps, all the open borders people, can't understand why nothing's happening. Kelly puts his close, trusted assistant as the head of Homeland Security, and she's just bringing in guest worker, that Christian Nielsen, bringing in millions more, not millions more, but tens of thousands more at least of guest workers replacing American jobs. None of these people signed up with the MAGA agenda. Most of them are opposed to the MAGA agenda. And in the case of Rod Rosenstein, swamp people defend him by saying, oh, he was the president of the Federalist Society at Harvard. No, he's very good. Yes, I'm sure he's very good at discussing the Administrative Procedure Act at Friday Federalist Society meetings. I'm sure that's fantastic. But he is going to be in Washington. He is a career government person. He's going to be there, and the rest of the swamp is going to be there for the rest of his career. Trump is going to be there at most 4 or 8 years, and then he's gone. Who does he want? Who does somebody like Rosenstein want to impress? Who does Mark Short or the Schlapps? Who do they want to impress? They want to be invited to anything in Washington. You can't bring the swamp into your White House and your Department of Justice and expect anything to behave any differently. You've basically invited the pussy hat wearing, never Trumpers into your administration, and they're killing him.
Wow. Well, everybody get Ann Coulter's book, In Trump We Trust, and get Adios America, and follow her on Twitter. Make sure you're following Ann Coulter on Twitter and Facebook. And new column comes out Wednesday night, right?
Oh, yes, that's right. I'll probably write it early because this interview has thrown me off on Monday instead of Wednesday.
I'm sorry, but we have a Mets game Wednesday. Takes away our time on Wednesday. So, if you missed any columns, just go to AnnCoulter.com. You can get everything there. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
Take care.